Hello, how are you? Happy Monday, October 14. Can you believe it? Monday, October 14. I don't know where you're listening to from. If you're in the Philippines, if you're in Palmdale, if you're in Acton, California, if you're in Lancaster, today, the lesson title for today is The Word Became Flesh. The Word became flesh. So let's go directly to the Bible. And the Word, John chapter 1, verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and full of truth. The verse that we just mentioned is the third of John's 7 names, the Son of God. A critical facet of the gospel is the fact that Jesus was truly, verily physical human being. 100% human, 100% divine, 100% humanity, 100% divinity. The first 18 verses of John's Gospel not only introduce Jesus, they also counter false spiritual beliefs. One of those errors, one of those heresies, one of those blasphemies is the idea that Jesus was only a mirage, an illusion. This was not true, because he was 100% authentic human being. John makes this explicitly clear that he became flesh, living among human beings. That's where we get the word incarnation. The word carne means flesh. If you go to the supermarket and you ask for a pound of carne, they will give you flesh. If you order a sandwich, torta de carne, it means flesh, typically beef. So carne means flesh. Now, incarnation means in flesh. That means that before incarnation, he was something else. And the question is, what was he before he was incarnation or incarnated? I don't think that word exists, but I'm making it up. What was he? And that is a mystery that you and I will never know. Because that is just like trying to put the whole water of the ocean into a cup of tea. How can that happen? Trying to understand the divinity, the nature, the essence, is not going to happen. It's a mystery. This means Jesus was not a hologram. He was not a ghost disguised as a person. He was real. He was a breathing, living person. As a result, he could claim to have experienced everything we do as mortals. And if you don't believe me, look it up in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15. He tried everything. He tasted everything. He endured hunger, thirst, pain, rejection, everything without sin. The Greek word here is eskeneo, incarnation, which suggests the tabernacle of the Old Testament. The tabernacle was a temporary structure, symbolic in God's dwelling with his people, while at the same time a literal physical place. Jesus is with us and among us in human form, much as God was among his people in the tabernacle. Also, appearing here is a critical term, monogenes. Monogenes. This is the source of the phrase one and only, or only begotten. And it means that Jesus is of the exact stuff. as God. Hebrews 1:3. I finish with a story. The story of Plato, the clown. Because many of the things that Plato said, I could have written it down. I could have been a great philosopher. He said such a weird, he was a weirdo. To me, he was, like one day he said, oh, the babies when they are born, they are crying because an idea that is eternal in the universe came to the little baby's body. And the baby begins, crying because it wants to liberate itself from the prison. The body is the prison of the soul. The soul is eternal. Therefore, the baby is crying. And then he becomes the father of idealism, a tremendous philosopher, just because he gave an explanation why a cry baby did what he did. I could have written that. That's what I make no apology. These three guys that confuse so many people, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, those three, the three stooges, for me, are the modern three stooges. And the stuff they wrote, most of it makes no sense. There's no meaning. Yet they are considered tremendous philosophers. Anyway, Plato, because he was popular during the days of Jesus, because he was controlling all the Greek world, because the book of John was translated into Greek, he divided reality into two realms. You don't need to study this, but we need to know the origin of the word logos and why logos, or the word or the verb, was popular in those days, and the meaning of that. One is the heavenly, or the universe, immutable, where absolute perfection exists, idealism. The other one is here, this world, perishable, changing, the body, the physicality, the prison of the soul. Plato never answered that question. Where is the first realm? Or who created it? He kept quiet. Some philosophies identify the logos, or the verb, or the word. By the way, word in Greek is logos. Word in Greek is logos. Some abstract intermediary between the eternal forms and the perishable earthly forms here. John uses the term in completely a different manner. He maintains that the truth, the verb, the word, the logos, is not some ethereal, abstract concept floating between heaven and earth. For him, that logos, the word, is a person. And that person has a name. And that name of that person is Jesus, who becomes flesh and dwells among us. For John, the Logos is the Word of God. More important, God communicated. That is, He revealed Himself to humanity in the most radical way. Emmanuel, God became one of us, God amongst us. In the Gospel of John, the Logos represents the eternal God who enters time, who enters space, who speaks, who acts, who interrelates with humans in a personal level. And that eternal God, becoming a human being, is one of us. The Word became flesh. Not for 30 years, not for 33 years, became flesh for eternity. For eternity. Because He loved you. Because He cares for you. Because He's dying to have a relationship with you. May God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'm going